Thank you so much, Secretary Sebelius. I'm really delighted to be joining all of you for today's Let's Move announcement, in which FDA is unveiling our proposed changes to a new and improved, a more user-friendly version of the nutrition facts label. But before I walk through our proposed changes, I also want to join Secretary Sebelius and take a moment to thank First Lady Michelle Obama for her continued commitment to encouraging Americans to live healthier lifestyles, and to recognize, of course, the 4-year anniversary of the Let's Move initiative. For 20 years, we've relied on the now iconic nutrition facts label to help us make informed food choices when deciding what to eat. When it was first introduced back in 1994, this landmark label provided the American consumer for the first time with the uniform information about the nutritional content of the foods. Since then, we've gained a better understanding of the relationship between what we eat and many serious chronic diseases affecting millions of Americans. For example, we know that eating more calories than needed to maintain our body weight, coupled with a lack of physical activity, is a primary risk factor for obesity in the general population. FDA experts relied on data from a variety of sources, including the Institute of Medicine, to design this new label. Let me highlight some of the proposed changes. First, sugar. We know that as a nation, we eat too much added sugar. While some of those sugars occur naturally in foods, much of it is added. The new label would provide more information about sugars in food by now indicating when a food has added sugar. And why does this really matter? Because added sugars contribute to a substantial portion of American calories, but don't really provide much else in the way of nutrients. This has major implications for maintaining a healthy body weight. We believe that requiring added sugars to be listed separately on the Nutrition Facts panel will better allow consumers to identify and compare products with added sugar and enable them to make better choices. We also hope this change will motivate the food industry to reformulate its products. As many of you may know, this occurred back in 2006 when FDA required food producers to add information about trans fats in the label. When Americans have better options, they can make healthier choices, and we all win. So now let's talk about how much we eat. In many cases, people are now eating amounts that are very different from the serving sizes that the FDA first put in place back in 1994. And I should note that our official definition for serving size is a reference amount. It reflects how much we actually eat when serving ourselves. And for this reference amount to be useful to the consumer, it has to be close to what the average person would typically eat. So contrary to what many may think, serving sizes on food packages are not recommended portions. We also know that package size affects what people eat, and that people are likely to eat or drink all of the contents of certain packaged foods, all in one sitting. For packaged foods and beverages that are typically consumed in one sitting, we propose labeling all of them as a single serving size and declaring calorie and nutrient information for the entire package. For example, a can of ready-to-eat soup is usually consumed as a single serving. For packages that are larger and could be consumed either as a single or multiple servings, manufacturers would have to provide a dual column. This label would indicate both per serving and per package calorie and nutrient information. And this way, people will know how many calories and nutrients they're consuming if, in fact, they eat or drink the entire amount at one time. And it might be surprising to learn that in this day and age, there still are some nutrients that people simply aren't getting enough of. We've known for some time that potassium and vitamin D are important nutrients for health and significant for maintaining healthy lifestyles. Potassium can help lower blood pressure, while vitamin D is a key nutrient for helping to promote healthy bone development and general health. But what's new is that current data show that certain population groups are not getting enough of them. Therefore, we're proposing that these nutrients be required elements that are listed on the nutrition facts label, along with calcium and iron, which have been required for some time. And vitamins A and C, which are currently required, could be listed voluntarily. Finally, we're proposing changes to some daily values, which are intended to be a guide for how much of a particular nutrient a person should consume each day, or in the case of things like sodium, an upper limit for the day. The daily values are used to determine the percent daily value that you see on the label. The percent daily value helps you see how much of the daily value one serving of a particular packaged food contributes. We've determined through our scientific research that some of these numbers should change. While the upper limit for sodium will decrease slightly to be in line with current recommendations, data show that daily targets for dietary fiber and calcium should, in fact, increase somewhat. So finally, let's see what's changed about the layout of the nutrition facts label itself. You'll see that information about calories and serving size really jumps out at you much more than it did before. On the other hand, we've actually removed certain information, such as calories from fat, and that's because we've learned that total fat is less important than the type of fat that you eat. And these are very important changes, and our goal here is to design a label that is easier to read and one that consumers can understand. This proposal is the culmination of years of research, study, and requests for public input. We've welcomed the comments we've received from experts and consumers alike to guide us towards a label that we feel will provide people with the information that they want and that they need. It's clear that the benefits will far outweigh the costs. We believe these proposed updates to the nutrition facts label will help in improving public health, incorporating the latest nutrition recommendations to reduce the risks of chronic disease such as cardiovascular disease, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and stroke. And we realize that the label alone won't magically change how America eats, but we hope that once consumers decide to implement changes in their diet and lead to healthier lifestyles, it will provide them with the tools to be successful. So thank you, and I'd now like to turn to Shanice Bryant, a mother of 4 and also a grandmother, to talk about how this matters to families.
Good morning. My name is Shanice Bryant Melton, and I'm a wife, a Head Start mom, and a grandmother. Keeping my family healthy is important to me. I want my children and my grandchild to have the best shot at success in the future. But with the limited time and a limited budget, cooking healthy food isn't always easy. That's why I'm so grateful for the No Kid Hungry campaign and their Cooking Matters program. They took me around the grocery store and taught me how to read food labels, how to buy more fruits and vegetables, and about eating whole grains. The best part of learning that I can feed my family a healthy home-cooked meal on just $10, I was shocked. Because of Cooking Matters, my kids are eating and actually liking brown rice and whole wheat bread. We are grilling and baking food instead of frying it. And we now know that half our plate should be filled with fruits and vegetables. And when we made a simple change, my kids actually lost weight. My son lost 11 pounds. Another great payoff to living healthier is being here today. I'm incredibly honored to introduce the First Lady of the United States. Mrs. Michelle Obama. Her passion and dedication has made a huge difference for my family and for so many families across the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Good morning, everyone. It's great to have you all here. Let me start by thanking Shanice for that very kind introduction and for her wonderful remarks. Let me just say, Shanice, when we heard in the back that you were a grandmother, everybody was like, oh, really? She's a grandmother? We thought you were a teenager. Really? See what eating healthy does? But it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for working so hard to keep your family in shape and healthy. We're very proud of you, very proud of you. I also want to thank Secretary Sebelius and Commissioner Hamburg for their outstanding leadership, as well as your entire teams. It takes a whole lot of people to get all of this done, and we are grateful for you all, your leadership, and for their efforts. Thank you so much for being here today. Yay. And we are also joined by one of my dear friends and a fabulous advocate, Rachel Ray. Rachel, where? Rachel, there you are. Rachel Ray, who has done so much work for Let's Move. Yes. Thank you, Rachel. We're going to do something fun shortly, all right? You ready? Ready. All right. I'll wear my flat shoes for you. And of course, I want to thank all of you, the parents, the advocates, the industry leaders who worked so hard to make this day possible. Congratulations. This is a good day. It's a great announcement. And back when we first launched Let's Move 4 years ago, all of us here today were driven by a simple belief that parents deserve to have the information they need to make healthy choices for their kids. And this isn't a particularly radical idea. In fact, it seems pretty obvious. But the truth is that too often it's nearly impossible to get the most basic facts about the food we buy for our families. For example, how many of you have at some point in your life made a statement that you were going to eat better? Maybe you wanted to lose a little weight. Maybe you wanted to improve your family's nutrition. Maybe there were health issues in your family that required you to watch what you ate. Whatever the reason, you resolved to read those labels and only buy foods that you believed would be good for you and your kids. So you marched into the supermarket. You picked up a can or a box of something. You squinted at that little tiny label, and you were totally and utterly lost. So there you stood alone in some aisle in a store, the clock ticking away at the precious little time remaining to complete your weekly grocery shopping, and all you could do was scratch your head, confused and bewildered, and wonder, is this too much sugar in this product? Is 50% of the daily allowance of riboflavin a good thing or a bad thing? And how on earth could this teeny little package contain 5 whole servings? This stream of questions and worries running through your head when all you really wanted to know was, should I be eating this or not? Is this good for my kids or not? And if it is healthy, how much of it should I be eating? But unless you had a thesaurus, a calculator, a microscope, or a degree in nutrition, you were out of luck. So you felt defeated, and you just gave up and went back to buying the same stuff you always buy. And that's a familiar scenario for far too many families and parents trying to do the right thing for their kids, and it's simply not acceptable. As consumers and as parents, we have a right to understand what's in the food we're feeding our families, because that's really the only way that we can make informed choices, by having clear, accurate information. And ultimately, that's what today's announcement is all about. As you've heard today, for the first time since the nutrition label was developed 2 decades ago, we're overhauling these labels to make them easier to read and understand. And this is a major undertaking involving folks from across the country from the FDA to the food industry to advocates throughout communities in this country. Because a lot has changed in the past 20 years. And just consider all the new information we've learned about nutrition and healthy eating during that time period. Not to mention this label appears on roughly 700,000 products. But in the end, our guiding principle here is simple, that you as a parent and a consumer should be able to walk into a grocery store, pick an item off the shelf, and tell whether it's good for your family. To achieve this goal in the coming months, the FDA will be soliciting comments from the public on the two possible options that you see behind me. And I know there will be many opinions on what this label should look like. But I think that we all can agree that families deserve more and better information about the food they eat. And it's important to note that no matter what the final version looks like, the new label will allow you to immediately spot the calorie count because it will be in large font and not buried in the fine print. You'll also learn more about where the sugar in the food comes from, like whether the sugar in your yogurt was added during processing or whether it comes from ingredients like fruits. This is what you will get from the label of the future. This will be the new norm in providing consumers with information about the food we buy and eat. So this is a huge deal, which is why everybody is here. And it's going to make a big difference for families across this country. So today I want to end as I started, by truly thanking the FDA and everyone else involved in this important effort. I am excited to see all the comments that come in over the coming months, and I look forward to celebrating the final label and then ultimately seeing it on grocery shelves across the country in the years to come. So congratulations, you all, great work. Let's keep pushing. There's more to do. As Secretary Sebelius said, we are starting to see some change. We are nowhere near the end of this road, but with every little bit that we do, we make a huge difference. So congratulations once again, and keep up the great work. Thank you so much.